Good morning, folks. Before we get into this, I did some editing, and while I was editing, I realized I said my buddy's Joe name an awful lot during this review. That's because he's a big Street Fighter fan, and him and I have been having a number of conversations on the podcast Nerd Rage Radio about culture and ethics and stuff regarding Japanese culture and American culture as of late. So recently, when I did this review, I edited it, and I realized I said his name an awful lot. So I'm thinking I'm going to take a drink for every time I say his name. We'll see how it turns out.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Hadouken's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Sh Figuarts Ryu, or as it's properly pronounced, Ryu. My buddy Joe always gives me a hard time about it, so I make sure that I always call him Ryu. 'Cause America. Anyway, this is a figure I've been looking forward to for a long time. Let me get this out of the way straight away. There's going to be people that are going to be like, well, the Storm Collectibles one, that's cool. I think the Storm Collectible, I've never played with it. I've looked at a review of it. It looks to be a well done, well made thing. If you're happy with it, I'm happy for you. I just wanted this one. I'm not here to say which one is better. If you think one is better than the other and you have both, I value your opinion. If you think one is better than the other and you only have one, I don't value your opinion. Sorry, that's just the truth. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's keep it moving. So he comes with two different face options. One is kind of the charging up, and then the other one looks like more so the release, so to speak. And they're both all done the same way. We'll talk about the detailings when we get to the figure itself. He comes with one additional set of hands, which I found extremely surprising. It seems like it would have been a no-brainer to include a few more styled hands, but this is what you get, which is a bit of a bummer in my opinion. And once again, we'll talk about the details when we get to the figure. He comes with a piece that plugs into the back of his headband. They do this sometimes, probably for packaging reasons or to make sure that the piece arrives intact when it is shipped, but you just plug it right in, you're good to go. He comes with a display stage for the blast effect where you just plug into the bottom and then you plug the blast effect. And I have a hard time finding it because it's all this blue into it, and then you're good to go. The blast effect is done really well. It's like a light blue translucent piece that's glued into a darker blue translucent piece, and then the white bit looks like it's airbrushed on there. I think it looks really cool, personally. And then he comes with this two-piece background. Looks good. It must be from Street Fighter V. I haven't played it. I own it, but I've just never gotten around to playing it. I think Joe has actually played it, and I haven't at my house, but I just haven't got a chance to. So I'm guessing this is his level. I'm not entirely sure. So then you can kind of use all those accessories and create a pretty iconic look. All right, let's talk about the figure. So the head, sculpt-wise, I think it's fine. Now, I had somebody write me recently, and he knows who he is, but he said, do you think that the eyes are a bit far apart? I think you're right. I think they are a bit far apart when I had him in hand. I didn't notice that in production images, but I think as long as you put him anywhere near close to an angle, when you go to display him, you'll be fine, personally. The headband is sculpted. The hair is all sculpted and painted, so as the headband, the eyebrows come up over, and it's just paint as opposed to sculpt, I think. Like, they're sculpted, the eyebrows are... Actually, the eyebrows are... It's hard to tell. I think they're just... Like, the sculpt goes up, but it's not really defined or anything, so it actually pulls off that animated look, I think, much better than I've seen in other places. Nice paint on the face, and I think it all works. I think that the eyes are a bit far apart, but I think once you have him posed, and I will say straight away, like, this guy is not perfect. Not as perfect as I would have liked him to have been, but the saving grace with him is that once you have him posed, he looks perfect. So let's continue. Double ball peg for the head, and then another feels like a single ball peg for the neck. So the range of motion is ridiculous. All the way down to there, up to there, you know, like just the complete anything you would ever want. So that works really well. Let's talk about the skin. There is a subtle shading, and I think it's done really well on both on the chest, face, maybe it looks like neck as well, just throughout. And I think it works. It's not over the top. It's just enough to kind of get the job done, which I think is how skin shading should be done. When you go too extreme, it starts to look far too animated, in my opinion. All right, now let's talk about the shoulders. I'm not crazy about them. They're very effective, which is nice, but I have mixed feelings. So there is like an old school butterfly joint, like it feels like a hinge, because there's this other plastic piece in there that covers down on it. And then it's a ball peg that comes out to a disc hinge, but the range of motion is fine, but it's not, I don't feel like it's anything to like, you know, it's not superb. It just kind of works. You know, and not that it needs to be anything greater than this. And then, and that's not even my real complaint. Like for my needs, this does enough of the job. But my complaint are these pieces. I don't know what the answer is to them, but I feel like, so like people have said that he's like too skinny or whatever. Now, Joe and I talked about this. I hate to keep bringing him up, but, well, I don't hate to keep bringing him up, but you know what I mean? Joe and I talked about this and how he's like constantly kind of gotten bigger from Street Fighter on, and he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So like, I think the people that think he looks too skinny are more of like the modern Street Fighter players. Whereas for me, it doesn't really bother me. I played mainly Street Fighter 2 and 3. So it doesn't really bother me. Once again, you got him posed. He looks great. But the one thing that does bother me is how it does look a little indented here in the upper chest, and then this is supposed to cover down to fix that. But I just don't feel like it does the greatest job. I feel like any, you know, whenever you pose him, you got to kind of cover it up so that it works. And if you start to see any of this like bit of business that's going on up in there, or even worse on this side from like his karate suit bunching up, then it really starts to throw off the suspension of disbelief, and it starts looking much more like a, you know, like just a regular toy. But I know that's kind of subjective, but there is some objectivity related to how this sorts itself out. Anyway, the shoulder itself, like we said, ball hinge into the butterfly joint out to a disc hinge, or ball joint into a disc hinge, which gets the shoulder up to there. You don't get a bicep swivel. You get the swivel at the shoulder, like we've seen on some of the more recent Star Wars stuff. It works really well. It works just as well, in my opinion, as a bicep swivel for most things. And then you do get an additional swivel down here at the elbow. So I think you're basically covered, and then you don't have to destroy the sculpt. So I'm at a point where I might actually prefer that. They may have sold me on that. Double jointed elbow, or is it? Yeah, it is. Great range. This isn't the most beautiful sculpt, so we run into that issue again. And then the glove is all sculpted and painted, as is the writing and stuff on the glove. And then the hands themselves are on ball hinges, so you can get the up, down, in, out, depending on how you move the ball hinge. It swivels at both ends. The skin tone here is painted, as is the black. The black is not perfect, but the skin tone is done really well. Same for the other side. I feel like it's a double. I can't tell because my upper joint here is a little stiff and my lower joint is not. So like when I go to manipulate one, I end up manipulating the other, and I can't get a really good look at what's going on in there. But I'm thinking it's a double ball peg in the chest, from the chest to the abdomen, and then just a really large single at the lower from the abdomen into the pelvis. As a result, though, I mean, you get a great range of motion. I don't think you'll feel hindered at all. It all works. You know, what's important about this is not necessarily the exact engineering that they use, but more so how it works. And I think that it works perfectly well. I don't think you'll have any issues there. You have this floating piece here that sits over top of the pelvis to kind of cover down on everything. That works. The belt is all painted, sculpted, and dry brushed, which looks great. And then the lettering and stuff is done down the side of the belt. It looks fantastic. Great job there. Shading on the gi itself. Gi, listen to me, like I'm some sort of hot shot. But it looks good. It's a subtle gray. Works really well. Once again, I think there's folks that think that he should have been dirtier. You know, and I get that. I think the Storm Collectibles one is dirtier, and I think that looks great as well, but I don't need it to look dirty. Just me personally. All right, let's continue. So the hips are universals, but they also have like a cover down piece on it, which is nice, like a floating cover down piece. So you can get the leg all the way up to there. The soft material of this floating piece moves out of the way to get you at least 90 degrees, maybe a little bit more. And then you have this nice cover down piece that's floating on the hip to kind of hide the sculpt. So that works beautifully. And it's all on a universal joint, which is also nice. And it means you get the legs out a fair distance. Now, there's going to be people that are going to want it more than that. And he probably, you know, but he can do this bit, right? So I think it ultimately works, but you know, he is a character that would have lent himself to more articulation. So maybe the hips are a little bit limited, but I think for my purposes anyway, they're fine. At the universal, you also get a thigh swivel, so that works. Single hinged knee, not the prettiest joint. Once again, you know, ugly joint, ugly joint, ugly joint. That's my main issue here with this guy. But it is effective and gets you past 90 degrees. And then we have the feet, which are extremely well done. So this may be one of the most efficiently articulated human feet I've ever seen. So ankle tilt all the way up to there, all the way down to there, rocker like a champ, and a toe hinge that doesn't look absurd. So I think they knocked that out of the park. And most of the hinge that it operates on is really well hidden. So yeah, I think this does a really, really good job of what it's trying to do. And size comparison wise, there he is with Chun-Li, so no problems there. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the issues first, right? So the issues with this guy mainly come down to aesthetics, which is weird, especially for this company. And it's the aesthetics of the knee joint, the aesthetics of the elbow joint, and the aesthetics of the cover down pieces on the shoulders. The only other issue that's worth noting, it's not an issue of mine, but it's worth noting because so many people have had a criticism of such, is the aesthetic of the actual buck itself. So if it's too slender for you, if it's too thin, if it's too narrow, if you prefer your Ryu to be much more bulky, or Ryu, pardon me, Joe, then by all means, you should definitely pass on this. I personally like this look and I like this company, so this is the way that I wanted to go. The only other negative that I would point out is that I feel like we should have got more accessories. I feel like something to go over his hand for a uppercut, you know, like that other power movie did, would have been nice, you know, like just another signature move, a little stand so that you could have posed him on the stand and had the 1 foot out for the bit would have been nice. Like, I just think all those things are appropriate. I also feel like a few more hand options wouldn't have hurt. Positives wise though, a lot of things are really well done. It's extremely well built. It's extremely well engineered. The articulation is great. I like the sculpt. I think the sculpt works throughout. The paint job is perfect. Oh, I forgot to mention the headband does articulate, so you can have it flowing in the wind like I have it there. The feet are amazing. Feet. And it's moderately priced. So do I recommend it? Absolutely. I think it does everything you need it to do extremely well. Could it do some things better? Yes. What are those things? Mainly the way it looks. But I think most of the time you get them posed right, you get them on the shelf, you're going to be 100% happy. So if you're into this look for Ryu, or Ryu, Joe, go for it. If not, there's no criticism I have that's noteworthy enough to not recommend it. If you like the look, like I do, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend it because I am quite happy with it. Hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.
It's turned out great. What are you looking at? I'll fight you.